Sorry for the delay. Unfortunately, there is no video or anything to be able to show what I have prepared for you guys, which is a lot of classified information that we were going to share with you. However, I'll try to explain as we go through my speech. Are we going to allow interruptions, or do we just go straight? How are we going to go straight? Straight. All right, awesome. All right. We live in a globalized world, and as regions, nations, allies, partners, or simply as neighbors, we face many constantly evolving threats that have in many cases reached a global scale, and that have morphed into phenomena that do not directly confront our security apparatuses, but that try to use our vulnerabilities against us and take advantage of our humanity, our will to do no harm, and our hearts. Just to mention a few: terrorism, separatism, fanatism, religion, and other forms of extremism, drug trafficking, organized crime, regional conflicts, and the threats of the spread of weapons of mass destruction, financial and economic crisis, ecological disasters, and epidemics. All these problems are not new, but in a globalized world, they are interconnected and have quickly begun to acquire a universal character, posing a real threat to regional and international security and stability. Now, in the past few months, we have seen the famous migrant caravans moving up through Guatemala and Mexico and amassing at the U.S. southern border as they try to force their way into the United States. Now, we have to ask, who is behind these caravans? Were they orchestrated? Who organized them? Who gave them money? Unfortunately, I cannot show you what different intelligence agencies and law enforcement agencies and military units were able to collect, not only at the border of Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador, but also to Guatemala and Mexico, and also Mexico and the United States. So I'm going to go through my notes here because this is where I was going to show you some of the images. But on October 5th, it was made public through social media and using different networks like WhatsApp, a calling in Honduras for citizens to join in a massive migration walk to the United States. From October to date, several caravans have been registered periodically in order to enter the United States. It should be noted that the number of participants has decreased in each new call for a caravan. Now, the initial one that took place in October was about 14,000 migrants that amassed at the border between Honduras and Guatemala. This was not a spontaneous event. It was well planned, it was well organized. We detected a lot of logistical preparation throughout Guatemala and Mexico to be able to bring all these people to the U.S. southern border. I must say that this is open source and it has been throughout the media. And I guess some people decided not to dig into it, but at the end we found out that the main NGO that was behind the caravans is an NGO based out of Chicago, and the name is Familia Latina Unida Sin Fronteras, led by Emma Lozano. Now, they started working with Honduran, Guatemalan, and Mexican counterparts in organizing this. The organization itself was impressive, to say the least. They used mainly WhatsApp, Facebook, to interconnect different people, the different groups of migrants that were willing to move and make their walk all the way to the United States. There was a big part of a political participation, mainly in Honduras. We have videotape of all these migrants saying that they would go back to Honduras if Juan Orlando Hernández, the president of Honduras, would quit and renounce his post as president. All that stuff is in video, all that is actually now open source. So there was a lot of political manipulation of all these people on the ground. Bartolo Fuentes was the main leader of the caravan. He came into Guatemala as a scout, sending money to different places, churches, and places where the migrants were going to be staying as they moved up through Guatemala. Also connecting with different international NGOs like Oxfam that also assisted this caravan and has been assisting these caravans as they move up through Guatemala and Mexico to come to the United States. He was captured on October 16 in Guatemala and was deported back to Honduras, where he was received with all sorts of celebration by former President Manuel Zelaya of the Libre political party, who is also the opposition of President Juan Orlando Honduras. Now, when Guatemala decided to protect our sovereignty, to protect our borders, and we heard the call of the government of the United States to try to contain this forceful migrant caravan. First thing is that not many people know that Guatemala, with the entire Central American region, we have signed an agreement called the C4 agreement, in which we have to allow all Central Americans to freely flow through our countries, with the only condition that they have to be registered at the border. That's the first thing we did, and we started announcing to all these people coming to our border that they were going to have to register to be able to enter to Guatemala. As these people were amassing in our border, unfortunately, Mexican authorities, including at the time President-elect López Obrador, started saying in public that they were going to give all these migrants working visas, and they were going to help them in Mexico, and they were going to receive them, etc., etc. So that emboldened these groups. They emboldened the oppressive, and they became more aggressive. And eventually they broke through our border. We had, I'll give you some numbers, but we had a huge contingent of police officers protecting our border. Unfortunately, these migrant groups put women, the elderly, and children as young as 40 days of age at the front and started pushing and pressing them against our police force. And because we have to obviously protect the human rights of all these people, we could not even use tear gas to try to dissuade all the people in the back, the aggressive people, from moving back, because some of the smoke could have hurt the small children. It became an unsustainable situation. Children were being pressed against the fence, and some of them actually were already suffocated because of all the pressure behind them. So we had to retreat. Our police forces had to allow these migrants to go through our border. Unfortunately, Honduras authorities left their posts and left us alone. Instead of having two fences to protect the border area, it was only the Guatemalans holding the line, pretty much. Knowing that this was going to happen, because we had also received intelligence that these people were working with other countries, like Venezuela, in preparing the leaders of these caravans. We also prepared a migrant containment strategy. And what we did is we set up a total of 12 different roadblocks throughout Guatemala, all the way to Mexico, in trying to make sure that the caravan wasn't going to freely flow through Guatemala. The idea was really to delay and make the organizers and the logistical operators to waste all their money, to spend all their money trying to feed the people as we were actually holding them at these roadblocks, checking paperwork, etc. During that work, we also identified a total of 10 operational leaders in the caravan. And some of the results, and just to give you the numbers that we used a total of 1,600 police agents on both our borders in trying to contain this. We used close to 500 military soldiers, or soldiers of our armed forces, and more than 500 first responders and EMT personnel. At the end, with this strategy, out of a 14,000 strong caravan, we managed to peacefully and respecting their human rights. We returned a total of 6,456 Honduran migrants. With all these checkpoints and roadblocks we set up, we were assisting them, giving them water, giving them food, also making sure that our EMTs were checking them on different types of diseases or if they had an emergency. And we freely boarded the buses that we had prepared for them. And this is, for a small country like Guatemala, it's incurring a huge cost, but still, we were being a partner and we were trying to make sure that this was not just going to be able to freely flow through our country. We also intercepted a total of 126 special interest aliens during this caravans. Special interest aliens, countries, and with probable links to Islamic extremists. At the end, Guatemala did their part. We offered and promised the United States that we were going to contain this. Some of you might have heard already, and this is another big thing that's going to happen within days, again, in this region. As of 2 hours ago, a big group of migrants coming from different countries in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East are coming through the Darien area between Colombia and Panama and are amassing at the Panama border. We put in also 400 Cubans. And their intent is to make a 30,000 strong caravan to go all the way up through Central America and Mexico and come to the US southern border. This new way of doing politics, which is how we are actually analyzing this, we are calling it, and we are using this term. Now it's the weaponization of those in need. Since the earliest times, humanity has been on the move. While some move in search for economic opportunities, others move to escape conflict, persecution, terrorism, human rights violations, environmental factors, just to mention a few. As difficulties, as human beings, as societies, we cannot ignore and remain sensitive to the difficulties others face in life. We cannot ignore how evilness, cruelty, greed, ambition, and corruption have destroyed entire countries and driven our fellow humans to leave everything behind in search of an opportunity to have a life. Unfortunately, cruel, heartless, and manipulative political actors and radicals have taken advantage of those in need and are utilizing them now as less than lethal weapons of invasion of political influence and as their own private armies of picketing mobs. That's what this is. Let's not lose our real capacity of analysis. The migrant caravans are not spontaneous. They are being politically orchestrated and well-funded with a specific political objective. Now, we have to make an effort as a region, as partners, to confront this. I started the speech talking about the globalized world and the threats we face. It's been said globalization has the potential to make this world a better place to live and solve some of the deep-seated problems like unemployment and poverty. We can stop globalization, but there are policies and strategies that can be used to make it more equitable and work as allies and as partners. But alliances and partnerships only go as far as our nation's own interests allow it. John Henry Temple and Winston Churchill used different versions of the concept that nations have neither eternal allies nor perpetual enemies, only eternal and perpetual interests. However, today's globalized world presents a reality of intertwined trade economies and futures, and we need to understand that even our own national security and national interests are nowadays tightly interlocked. We need to find a way to work together as nations in order to achieve mutual benefits in pursuit of a win-win situation for all our countries. Let's think for a minute about our neighborhoods, where we live in. In an ideal world, we would hope our neighbors would help us whenever we find ourselves in need, in danger, or at risk. We would hope that if our house is ever getting broken into, and this is the example, if we're our neighbor and our house is getting broken into, we hope that the kind lady next door is going to call the police as quickly as she usually calls when we have loud music or we have a very noisy party, right? We hope. And this is the exact same situation. But nothing could be farther from the truth. For the most part, allies, partners, and neighbors will only help us as far as their own comfort zone allows them to do so. But what happens when counterparts build trust and become allies, partners, and friends willing to go the extra mile for each other? And I'm going to use the example of Guatemala specifically. We have the population that uses drugs. Cocaine is less than 0.2% of the population. However, nowadays we are the country that intercepts the most cocaine in the region. Up to last check, 30 metric tons of cocaine has been seized on Guatemalan waters and land. And this being a good partner of those nations that actually do consume this type of drugs. The United States and Europe, for the most part. We're being good partners. We have also, in the last 3 years, intercepted and denied access and flow to more than 100 special interest aliens with links to terrorism organizations. We have also worked hard against the gangs, MS-13, Fighting the Searcher, that they are not only affecting our countries in the Northern Triangle, but also the United States, mainly the East Coast. But that's just some of the stuff we're doing as good partners of the regions, and we're not doing it only for ourselves, but for everybody that we consider our friends and our allies in the region. As nations, we need to find ways to work together and protect our neighborhood and each other against common enemies, common threats, and also against pervasive political ideologies that disguise themselves as political opposition, but that are actively and aggressively working to subvert our stability, our peace, and yes, they're also trying to undercut our friendship, our partnerships, and also trying to belittle the determination with which our soldiers, Marines, airmen, intelligence officers, police officers risk lives on a daily basis in our cities, at our borders, on foreign lands, and out in the sea. I'll give you an example of these. Our naval special forces in Guatemala, they are going out 200 nautical miles into the sea to capture these boatloads of cocaine. And then they have to sit out there for almost 3 days waiting for another boat to bring them petrol and gas. And they're doing it because we are good partners in the United States. A few days ago, I made a comment on the radio and it was misconstrued because some issue with some jeeps we have in Guatemala that the U.S. made it to us. The point I was trying to make that it doesn't matter if the political activists of a certain political party in the United States, once they want to take away whatever assistance, physical assistance, technological assistance, they can take it away from us, but still we will remain the best partner that the United States has in the region. We will keep fighting the drug dealers, we will keep fighting the drug traffickers, we will keep trying to curb down this immigration, and we will be a good partner because also whatever, I'm going to use a tagline from someone in the US government, whatever makes Guatemala great will make the United States great as well. I'm going to add some personal ideas here, and if I may, I would like to quote the greatest man who lived and lives, our Lord Jesus Christ. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength, and with all your mind. And love your neighbor as you love yourself. I have had the honor of serving 2 countries. And I am convinced that partnerships and alliances based primarily on trust can build real friendships between governments and agencies. And I have seen these on both sides. I immigrated legally to the United States when I was 19 years old. I went to school, earned my permanent legal residency to the United States based on U.S. national interest. I served the United States in uniform and dedicated more than 10 years of my professional life serving and protecting the United States of America. I now serve Guatemala, the country where I was born, and couldn't be doing it if the U.S. had not given me the opportunity to be the best that I can be. Cool. I can say that my soul is Guatemalan and my heart is Texan. Now, seriously speaking though, my heart is not split between the U.S. and Guatemala. It is equally committed to protecting and serving both countries. Being in this position has allowed me to understand that there needs to be a mutual understanding and respect between parts at the most basic level, and an honest willingness to do good, to be able to receive good. But in this particular case, do good means helping your counterpart with what that counterpart needs and wants help with, not with what you think is good for them, not with what you think they want help with. Nobody owns all the answers to all the problems and the solutions to all the problems. Thinking that from some local exposure, limited exposure, and some academic work, and thinking that you have a solution to solve endemic social problems of a host nation is simply arrogant and insulting to all of us. And that's why you have seen so many problems in the Latin American region in the past 20 years. Bad policy, bad foreign policy. I call it career bureaucratic arrogance. People that think they own the truth, people that think know better than what the countries themselves. At the end, friends help with what is needed, not with what they want to give. Globalization has undoubtedly transformed the nature of crime and has made the need for security evident and complex. Reason why we aim to the idea of slowly shifting to a fully integrated region where counterparts cooperate and link to enable communication and collaborate with each other. Therefore, alliances, partnerships, and societies are needed and required to offer a degree of dedication, honesty, and integrity to ensure that these relationships will benefit all the counterparts involved. Every country is different. There is no cookie-cutter solution. This is why we must come together to identify common ground, understand connections to regions, influence factors, social groups, and then plan and prevent and protect each other and protect the region together. Talk to each other and define what we want to accomplish, develop protocols, set agreements, and coordinate to assist and response to our partners' needs. At the end, more than allies and partners become real friends. I'll give you an example of something that happened in Guatemala in 2016. We were facing a lot of forest fires, and we had this unit of 4 helicopters, property of Guatemala. However, they had been repaired by the United States, so we could only use them if the United States Embassy would approve it. President of Guatemala, President Morales, requested those choppers to be used to put out these forest fires before a Guatemalan could lose his life, or we could lose, entire towns. The unfortunate response was that unless the person died, they could not provide those choppers. Guatemalan property. That's bad foreign policy, like I said. But still, we're really good partners. We're still fighting. We will keep fighting. If you want to see it, a lot of people say that Latin America is the United States backyard. I think that's simply insulting to the entire Latin American region. We should see this more of, we should see Latin America as a school ground or a house where the United States, in any case, is a big brother. And we're smaller brothers, but brothers nonetheless. We have to fight for each other at the end. We need to come together and understand that we have needs, that we have also obligations, but we need to see eye to eye. At the end, the best solutions will come from those that need those solutions, not that those that want to impose them on us. Thank you. We're ready for the discussion. Thank you.